Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about my least favorite episodes in Survivor history. I've talked about my favorite Survivor episodes of all time. I've talked about the best and worst episodes according to IMDb rankings. Now it's time to talk about the ones that didn't do it for me. Generally, I like being positive about Survivor because I love Survivor. After all, you don't make videos week after week about something you hate. Okay, well, actually, plenty of people do that, but I don't. I love Survivor, and I've thoroughly enjoyed about 98% of Survivor episodes. However, when you're producing 2 seasons a year for 25 years, not every episode is going to be a certified banger. So today, I thought it would be fun to look back through Survivor history and pick out and pick on the episodes that occupy that 2% of Survivor that just didn't do it for me. What's more, we'll be doing this video on hard mode. Reunions and recaps off the table. I also won't be including any of the episodes where problematic or unpleasant stuff happens. Otherwise, this would be a very obvious list of episodes, and personally, I don't really find that content fun to create. We probably all know which episodes I'm talking about, but I won't be including any of the episodes which are frequently lowly ranked due to upsetting real-world issues. We're going Inferno mode, and only focusing on episodes which I really dislike because they're anticlimactic, frustrating, boring, or just have good old-fashioned bad storytelling. So lap some burgers and cozy up in the piss cave as we talk about my least favorite Survivor episodes of all time. At number 5 is With Me or Not With Me, the penultimate episode of Survivor Kaôh Rōng. We've got to have a medevac episode on this list, and so here it is. Kaôh Rōng is an interesting season because I'd say most would agree it's generally quite good, if not great. It's certainly my favorite season on this list. But 2 of its most crucial episodes, the Merge and the second to last episode, are absolute stinkers. Look, if you like watching an elderly man try to shit, then this is going to be your favorite episode of all time. But for the rest of us, this final 5 episode, where Joe wins reward, gorges himself on steak, then gets his bowels so backed up he is medically evacuated, is both meandering and a little bizarre. A lot of the episode's strategic narrative is focused on whether Ty will join the duo of Aubrey and Joe or Michelle and Sydney. And personally, Ty's constant flip-flopping is the least compelling part of his game for me. But that would be fine on its own. But what sinks this is that most of the back half of the episode is just Joe wandering around in constipated pain from eating too much steak. This goes on for 20 minutes. Then he's pulled from the game. That's it. It's just no fun watching a sweet old guy like Joe be so miserable, and there's no naked and homicidal Shane here this time to provide some levity. And I'll be honest, even as a Michelle fan, it's frustrating seeing Aubrey's ride or die taken out via medical evacuation so close to the end game. She was very likely on path to win at the end against Ty and Joe. Well, live by the medevac, die by the medevac, I guess. Most of the rest of this season before this episode is great, but at its most crucial point, the climax, the episode just lands in the bowl with a thud. Something Joe probably wishes he could do right about now. At number 4 is Sleeping with the Enemy, episode 8 of Survivor Thailand. You could honestly pick any post-Xi'an Thailand episode out of a hat for this list, but the first episode after she leaves, where Sukjai and Chuigon are still on the same beach but in separate tribes, takes the cake for me. The urinal cake, maybe. The most exciting thing that happens this episode is that Chuigon keeps pissing in a cave, and it's kinda stinky. That's the exciting subplot of the episode. The piss cave. It's so obvious Survivor wanted Sukjai to come out ahead this season. This tribal immunity challenge is so clearly meant to be an individual challenge, but my guess is they left the tribes intact, hoping Sukjai would win this so they could even up the tribes and at least merge them 4-4 and hope that Penny flips Clay or something. But when that doesn't happen and they lose tribal immunity, the full back half of the episode is just the 4 members of Sukjai mourning the impending loss of one of their own. There are huddles, there are hugs, there are tears, and all this for Eren? The problem with this episode is that no one cares about Sukjai, except maybe the members of Sukjai. Without Rob and Xian, this is one of the blandest tribes of all time. And watching them wallow in their self-pity doesn't have the emotional sting it should, because no one could ever care about what happens to this tribe. There are plenty of times the sad vote-off has worked wonderfully on Survivor, but this is not it. Individually, I don't think any of these people are actually particularly bad casting choices, but they just congealed into one of the most flavorless alliances of all time. So I'm just completely apathetic towards watching them cry for 20 minutes. You know what? This episode actually needed more Piss Cave. At number 3 is Ready to Play Like a Lion, episode 6 of Survivor 41. This is the episode where Erika is sent to Exile Island at the merge and the Hourglass is introduced, which I don't think would be enough to put it in the lowest rung of episodes for me on its own. But this episode makes the bizarre decision to end on a cliffhanger, concluding the episode with Erika pondering whether she should smash the Hourglass or not, rather than a tribal council. This is one of only a handful of episodes which end with no one actually getting eliminated from the game, and I've never liked this sort of episode conclusion. This was meant to be Erika's breakout, but the decision is just such a no-brainer, it doesn't work. Immunity or no immunity? Let me think on that. The idea that basically the entire episode's narrative could get undone in the opening scenes of the next episode also makes this episode feel completely inconsequential. You can practically skip it if you want. Except you, Game Within the Game fans. You've got homework to do. This episode just grinds the season to a halt just as it was really gaining traction after 2 great episodes in the JD and Genie boots. Momentum it wouldn't get back until Shan went home in episode 10. Survivor 42 would get this right the next season by airing a double episode for the Hourglass, so someone actually goes home at the conclusion. And Survivor 43 would get it even more right by doing away with the Hourglass altogether. At number 2 is The Most Deserving, the finale of Survivor Australia. Longtime fans of this channel know I drag this episode as often as I can, because this is the most boring episode of Survivor of all time. Australia is a great season until Jerry goes home mid-merge. All of the drama and energy leaving the season with her, giving us a final quarter which is a lot of shots of players laying around, sitting around. Occasionally they muster the energy to stand around. But the finale, which only features Tina, Colby, and Keith because this season actually had a separate Final 4 episode, is mind-numbingly dull. These 3 are just so out of gas they can barely move or form coherent sentences. They're even sitting down during the final fucking immunity challenge. This episode really focuses on the journey aspect of Survivor, and a large chunk of the episode is eaten up by the players reflecting on their Survivor journey while sitting on a cliffside. After final immunity, which is anticlimactically trivia about the members of the jury, we get even more reflecting. Look, I like reflecting as much as the next guy, but maybe Keith and Colby could argue or something? Dude, I've got an idea. Make your crappy rice. That always causes a fight.
It's pasty, it tastes like glue. It just, in your mouth, it goes, it's just horrible and I can't eat it.
This is a long 2 hours, almost entirely devoid of conflict or energy, slouching along on fumes towards final tribal council. God, I never thought I'd be longing for the halcyon days of Keith catching grasshoppers. The worst episode of Survivor of all time, in my opinion, is the Buddy System, episode 9 of Survivor Redemption Island. The pre-merge of Redemption Island was way better than it had any right to be, with a fantastic premiere and several solid episodes. It comes into the merge hot with an all-timer of a merge boot. This season is weirdly riding high. Then the 1-2 punch of the buddy system and Rice Wars happens, irredeemably cratering the season's entertainment value for good. This is the episode where Boston Rob's Ometepe alliance completely takes control of the game, with Rob introducing the draconian buddy system for his alliance, turning adults into toddlers on leashes and ensuring they always leave camp in pairs so that none of them are ever alone with any members of Zapatera. This episode just feels truly hopeless for the Zapatera tribe, and the show barely even tries to create the illusion that they even have a snowball's chance of overcoming their numerical deficit against Rob's zombies. In fact, much of this double boot episode is just Rob and Ometepe sitting in the shelter glazing themselves, and Zapatera outside the shelter whining about how they've been outplayed. Neither is very fun to watch. This episode is so cooked, they had to create entertainment in the editing. Burgers Elapsed is cute. I'll give it that. What's more, the episode concludes with Rob wisely sending home both Mike and then David, the only two members of Zapatera who really could have mounted any sort of defense against Ometepe. So we leave the episode knowing that Zapatera is truly screwed, and there's 3 more of them to get through. This is also the point in the season where Philip's shtick goes from entertaining to irritating. He's already recycling material at Tribal Council with another Francesco-style mispronunciation.
Infiltrate and supplant inceptions into the former Zapatera tribe.
Dude, save the greatest hits stuff for the return season. Overall, this is an episode which is both boring and obnoxious, and no amount of Burgers Elapsed can save it. There we have it, my picks for the worst episodes in Survivor history when we take all the problematic episodes out of the equation. Now I want to know, what did you think of my list, and what some of your least favorite episodes are? You know, like reverse hidden gems, I guess. Roughs in the diamonds? Let me know in the comments. Got nothing else for ya. If you want to elapse more videos than Philip did burgers, like and subscribe and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.